awful, but he was nice to just teach us and be patient. And I don't think I can just pin it down to one memory.
That's great. That's what we want to hear. Thanks so much for giving us a tour and being with us. We're going to toss it to Grace Schultz at KUTV. This is Amy Andre with SUTV9.
Hi guys, this is Grace Schultz. I'm outside the KUTV studios with Don Kaufman, the Assistant News Director. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Sure.
So first, will you just tell us a little bit about what your position is? What do you do as an Assistant News Director?
So we have a news director who's in charge of our news department. We have about 120 people that work in the news department, and so I assist him in helping to execute our vision for our station and make sure that we get good, clean shows on the air every day.
And what is your favorite part of your job? What's your favorite thing that you get to do every day?
You know, I like being involved and in understanding the news in most times first. You know, I've always enjoyed knowing what was going on in my community, and so instead of it just being a hobby, now it's something that I do professionally. I get to find out what's happening, and I get to tell other people about it, and help to be a part of that process.
And so in this era of fake news and the phenomenon we're kind of seeing, how do you guys combat that? How do you work to, make sure that what you're putting on the air is authentic and reliable information?
It's a good question. I think fake news to a large degree is kind of overblown. I think that just because someone might not like a story doesn't mean that it's fake. And so we have to make sure that we're working with verifiable information, verifiable facts, and talking to as many voices as we possibly can to make sure that the story that we ultimately present is accurate and fair. But for us, largely here at the local level, fake news is a non-issue.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Coming up next, we're going to go to Charlotte, who's in Deseret News. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, we're here at KSL and Deseret News, and I'm here with Jenny Romney. How are you?
Doing well, thanks.
First of all, can you tell us a little bit about your position here and what you do?
Yeah, I am the homepage web producer for DeseretNews.com. My team runs the news sections of DeseretNews.com and runs most of the social media accounts, the branded ones.
Okay, awesome. What are some of the things that you learned at SEU that you're able to use in your job now?
SU was really great at helping me form connections with other students, former students that I work with today. So we have that connection of working together at SUnews.com. Now that I am here, I've been able to, I blanked. Just been able to focus on the real-world experience that I got at SUU.
Is there something you wish you learned in your college career or before, or is there something you didn't know that you wish you knew before you entered the field?
Yes, I focused on a lot of print classes, and now that I work in a combined newsroom with TV people, I wish I had taken a TV class, because obviously I don't know as much as I should about TV.
Okay, so you would recommend people to dabble in all the fields?
Yeah, be eclectic.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time, and we're going to move on to KSL now.
Hey, this is William Robertson. I'm here with Christian Ross, part of Deseret News, and former SU alum. Yes, still SU alum. And I just wanted to talk to you about things in what you work with and how things have changed technology-wise over the past couple of years.
Yeah, so at Deseret News, we've been accommodating the big shifts in the media landscape that we've seen everywhere. And the biggest areas you've seen change is with the rise of mobile devices, people's smartphones, and the rise of social media. So a lot of the changes you've seen, since I've been here over the last couple of years, have to do with making our websites really optimized for people's phones. Over half of the traffic on DeseretNews.com comes from mobile phones right now. And really capitalizing on the power of social media, whether that's Facebook or Twitter.
What kind of specific changes have you made in that regard?
So with making stuff more mobile friendly, our websites are all responsive now. So we have a single version of our website that works great no matter what the screen sizes you view it on. And then with social media, as the social networks like Facebook have changed, we've adapted the way we share content, the way we interact and engage with people on Facebook, for example. So we might post a story that we've published on Facebook, and instead of people just coming to our website and leaving comments, they'll leave comments on Facebook, and we'll engage with them there on Facebook. So that's just one example, but yeah, social media has definitely changed everything.
Thanks. And last question. I'm just curious because I'm from out of state. I'm originally from Wyoming, and coming down to SU to get a bachelor's degree and graduate, and hopefully looking to get a job in Utah. And I was just wondering what your experience is here in Utah, like working, kind of people, and what kind of maybe what the workplaces are like.
Well, KSL and the Deseret News are part of a group of media companies here in Salt Lake City, and this is where I've worked since SU, and it's been fantastic. I also live in the city. I live just a block and a half down the street, and yeah, it's I'm not sure what exactly to say, but it's I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now.
Well, thank you for your time, Christian Ross. It's been a pleasure. Hey guys, this is William Robertson again. I'm here with Angie Reed. She's a producer, is it? Okay. And I just wanted to ask you a couple questions just about your experience here at KSL. Has there been a transition in the past couple years about how you do your work, or just like how you do your job?
Yes, there has. We just barely went to an automated system called Overdrive, which basically got rid of our technical director. So a lot of the commands of the show have fallen to the director and the program Overdrive. So you kind of lose a little bit of flexibility with your show. You have to go into your show knowing ahead of time what you're going to kill, so that you can make that kill of a story in an advanced enough time where the director has time to adjust. Because if it doesn't, it looks not good on air at all. So as a producer, I've had to adjust that mindset. They have started asking producers to make our own maps from the graphics department. I don't do that on the weekends because I don't have an AP, so I still send my graphic requests to the graphics department, but I will file them in my show. Okay. So they used to be pushed by editors to the rundown.
Thank you. Yeah, and you've worked all across the different stations in Salt Lake, and I'm curious to how KSL is different than the other stations.
Well, KSL is one of the few stations left in the country that's locally owned anymore. You have stations like Channel 2 that are owned by Sinclair. You have Channel 4 that's owned by Nexstar. And Fox possibly might be owned by Sinclair. I don't know what's going to happen there. That's up to the FCC. But companies like Sinclair and Nexstar and Scripps have started coming in and buying up stations that were once locally owned, and they're just condensing the business. And so I've seen the competition kind of go away a little bit. And I love that with KSL, though, that we're locally owned and that we get to produce a lot of good quality content, a lot of good quality pieces, longer form pieces that I think the community actually cares about. So.
And as you've worked here at KSL, what has been just the funnest thing for you in your job as a producer?
I love working in the field during the week. I love going out and producing stories for Deanie Wimmer. I love the education stories that we do. I feel like they make a difference to the community. Education is a big topic for the community because just with class sizes in Utah, there's just a lot of kids in Utah to educate, and there's never enough money. And so there's always a story that you can tell. But we also try to look for the good stories that are sent our way, that are happening, because there's a lot of good stories that are happening in the education system here in Utah as well. So. Cool. Yeah.
And a last question is going to be a fun one. Do you have a favorite moment with our instructor, John Smith, that you can remember?
A favorite moment? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was a long time ago. You know, probably working on documentaries. He's really, he gives a lot of good constructive feedback. And I don't know if that was really fun or not, but you learn a lot. And so that constructive feedback was helpful, and I think it helps prepare you for the industry, because you're going to get feedback from whoever, you know, whether it's your anchors or your news director, and you need to be prepared for that. So I don't remember any super weird fun. We went to NAB. That was fun in Vegas. So I don't remember any others. It was a long time ago.
I know that I always enjoy when I put together a package and then I come back out and he just kind of smiles at me and he's like, yeah, you kind of messed up that one a little bit. And it gives me a little bit of a drive. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking with me, Angie, just real quick. And it's been awesome.
All right, what is good, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into this special road trip edition of The Other Show.
I'm Chloe Howe.
I'm Charlotte Dahlhammer.
I'm Amy Andre.
I'm Grace Schultz.
And I'm William Robertson.
Thank you so much to all of the news stations for letting us come and talk to you, and we'll see you guys next week.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Travel is part of the American way of life.
When we're on vacation, we keep an eye out for anything that looks out of place.
Miss your bag.
When we travel from city to city, we pay attention to our surroundings.
Everyone plays a role in keeping our community safe.
Whether you're traveling for business or pleasure, be aware of your surroundings. If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Listen up. Each year, hundreds of promising research studies go unfunded for breast cancer, for lung cancer, every cancer. The American Cancer Society has been behind nearly every breakthrough in recent history. But there's still more work to do. So let's make sure that no research is silenced. Let's make noise. Let's make noise. Yeah. And let's finish the fight.
Toxic chemicals and carcinogens are leaching into the environment. It's happening right where we live, work, and play. Everywhere. Cigarette butts are toxic waste. Let's stop the toxic litter. Learn more at rethinkbutts.org.
I'm hungry. I can't see the board.
Good morning, class. Everyone ready to learn today?
Of course they aren't ready. Across America, health barriers keep millions of disadvantaged school children from learning. Children's Health Fund is working to remove those barriers. But to really change the odds for these kids, we need your help. To find out how you can give every child a chance to be healthy and ready to learn, visit childrenshealthfund.org today.
Life is made of moments. Family. A drunk driver. could take it all away. Keep your family safe on the road, because after all, nothing is more beautiful. Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Keep your family safe.
Looking for these? You drive Buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to the other show. I'm Colton Gordon. Unfortunately, I could not attend this trip with my classmates, so I'm here with our professor, John Smith, to give me the lowdown on what I missed. John, thanks for joining us.
It was a great trip, a very long day, but we met a lot of great people and saw a lot of amazing things going on in the business.
Yeah, long day. Talk about it. I mean, you guys started down here, had to be up in Salt Lake for an 8 a.m. show. What was the thought process in planning that trip, knowing that you had to get your day started super early?
Well, one good thing is that local broadcasters now are producing shows almost all the hours during the day. So we can just pick a station, and sometime during the day, during that window, we can hit a live production going on. But we tried to hit Fox by 8:30 in the morning, which means we had to meet at 4:30 in the morning here. So a few cold people huddled in their blankets and sleeping all the way to Salt Lake. But we made it on time, and we're able to meet up with the Fox News people and begin the day with a great show.
Yeah, 4 a.m. is not something I miss, trust me about that. But meeting people at Fox, you obviously have inside connections through SUU. What is it like not having to, but choosing to maintain these relationships with SUU students?
Well, fortunately, Facebook is very handy for that. A lot of these former graduates or graduates and former students are friends of mine on Facebook, and we keep track. Some I haven't literally seen in person for 20 years, but we're friends on Facebook, and we're kind of keeping track on what's going on. And so I just somewhat keep track of who's at which station, and they're moving around a little bit, but I can keep track of them, and so I just contact them and say, hey, we're going to be at Fox, we're going to be at KTVX, we're going to be at KUTV, we're going to be at KSL, and when, and they responded, and some of them were on assignment, they were out, they couldn't be there, but for the most part, our SU grads were there, and we made contact with them. Sure,
and then planning the whole day, I know you had a number of stations you hit. How many was it?
So there's four television stations as well as the Salt Palace. Good variety of types of stations, and also some audiovisual at the Salt Palace, which is not news at all, but it's just purely entertainment.
Yeah, the communication department, versatile in that sense. And then we've seen with these as-if lights a little bit earlier in the show. What was your intentions having your students, hey, we're going to be up here, let's make the most out of it, turning in these videos?
Well, we have students that are skilled and talented in producing television, and so why not just take a camera with us and make content, make programmable content out of our visit. And it also gives another opportunity. I'm always very hands-on, make opportunities for the students to practice what we do.
Sure.
And so give them a camera and assign them to interview somebody at each of these stations.
And then you talk about 4 different stations having a connection at each of those, a student at SUU. Or I guess, what does it mean to have SUU students working alongside, whether it be Utah or an ASU even grad at these big-time Salt Lake stations?
Well, the point is our SUU students are working side by side and actually significant producers and directors at these stations. And so SUU, we're a smaller school. We don't have as many graduates out there, but we easily compete and prepare students for the workforce, for working out there in the industry, and they're doing a great job out there.
And you talk about giving your students hands-on experiences. Is that something that SUU has an advantage over a Utah or BYU? I mean, you see all these students come through. Is that an effort that you really put towards?
Absolutely. We try to make sure that SUU is known as an experiential school and an engaged school, and we have hands-on experiences all the time, and so I get feedback on a regular basis that our SUU students, when they go out into the field, that they know how to, they're comfortable with the television studio, they know what to do there. Sure, those stations are bigger and brighter and just a lot more going on, But what we do here, shows exactly like this, are exactly the same as what's going on in the stations. And so I feel very good that our students are well prepared to go out, and especially well prepared to go out and do internships. And if they can do internships, then they're very well prepared to enter the field.
And I know you had a number of different students from different classes. How much emphasis does the communication department as a whole put on well-rounded students as to not just a TV emphasis student?
The one thing that we can say when we interviewed these graduates, almost all of them said the great thing about SUU is they know how to they learned how to run a camera, they knew how to anchor, they knew how to run audio, they knew how to run everything in the studio, and that really helps in an entry-level position. You can't specialize in school. You don't know what you're going to be doing after school, and then after school, then you can begin specializing at whatever field you're in or whatever station you're working at. And then broader than that, this is a communication major. It's not a broadcasting or film major. It's a communication major. So we are broader. We're preparing students to do it doesn't have to be a television station job.
Yeah.
It can be sales, marketing. It can be broader. Anything that involves human interaction is what we hope we're preparing students to do.
And lately I've been hearing a lot about the importance of maintaining connections. You talk about not have seen or talked to students for 20 years and then meeting up with them. I'm sure you can pick up stories right where you left off. How much value do you place not even emphasizing with your students now, just meeting these people for one time to keep this connection?
Yeah, I try to keep the connection, and I think that the difference, and SUU tries to pride itself on this, a personalized education, that professors know their students and interact, and we, with a hands-on experience like this, we're doing crazy things. We're doing long field trips, we're doing interesting field work, and so we're building a lot of memories and but giving good experience. And so when I talk to these students or these grads years later, they have very fond memories of SUU, and they actually are very avid fans of SUU and very good supporters.
And you talk about not only the studio experience. I know you teach a number of classes. I took one last year where we went out and did a movie on location. Is there value in special projects as well, even if you do end up in a studio position job? Absolutely.
Nowadays, with a hyper media world, anything goes, especially as production cameras have just really miniaturized. You can go out and shoot and produce an entire program, even on your cell phone nowadays. And so having students that not only can run a studio like this, but can go out and be tested and use their skills in a lot of different variety of situations is a very good skill to have.
And finally, here in our last minute, do you plan on these trips in the future? I mean, hopefully you'll see students in the class now up there again. I know this isn't the first time you've done something like this.
So we did the same trip a couple years ago, and some of those same people that students went on a trip were working at those stations 2 years later, 1 or 2 years later.
That's so awesome.
And so they have a great opportunity to meet real industry people and then later go right into the industry.
That's super cool. You go from meeting them to working alongside of them just like that.
Yeah.
And those are the opportunities SUU provides. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Colton Gordon. That's all the time we have for you today. Tune in next Tuesday for a fresh show full of news.